It is Wednesday, March 25th. Happy week and a half of social isolation. Anyway, did you know I started with my hay thing? I just realized it just happens all the time now. So anyway, today is our last Greek mythology story, at least that I have planned. Maybe we'll do bonus ones depending on how things go, but as of now, this is all I have. We're kind of getting towards the end. Good news is, there's a lot. Like, we could spend 3 more weeks of me doing like a story each day from Greek mythology because there are so many stories out there. Problem is, we just don't have the time because, we have to move on to other things and the world and stuff like that. But yeah, if you enjoyed it and you're sitting there bored, there's some really good websites you can let me know and I can send you out. There's also some really good YouTube pages that like tell the stories and stuff like that. But yeah, there's some fun things out there. We just don't have the time in the world and stuff like that. If I could teach a whole class of Greek mythology with me telling stories, it'd be the bomb. But I can't, so it's all good. Almost over. Test coming up on Friday. I'll let you guys know how that works. Pay attention. I'll post like more information about it tomorrow. I think tomorrow I'm going to have you guys do a crossword puzzle or something like that. I'll figure out something for tomorrow. It won't be another video. Thank you for those of you who've been doing the attendance thing and giving me your answers to those things. They entertain me and make me smile. Much appreciated. Let's see. To there, Olympians, blah, blah, blah. I covered all of those. Today, we are going to get to the person that you guys, whenever you think of Greek mythology, is probably the one story that you connect the most. The guy by the name of Hercules, but in Greek he's actually called Heracles, which is why it says up there, Heracles. It's not spelled wrong, it's just that's the Greek mythology one. It's Heracles. And the Roman name is Hercules, and that's the one people came to know. I mean, it's actually with a K, but I just do it that way to make it easier on things. And so stories up there, you're going to want to probably read that one because I am not going to have enough time. It's so much that happens in that story. But I'm going to give you like the speedy version of it to try and help things out. If you really want to know what I recommend you do right now, I mean, unless you've got a lot going on, and I'm pretty sure you don't, would be like hit pause, go do that, read the story. It'll take you, I don't know, 20 minutes, 15 minutes, depending on how fast you read. For some of you, 4 minutes. Get the whole background and then come back here because I'm going to be giving you spoilers. And if you've been enjoying all of this and you want to actually read it, read the story. It's a good one. Guy issues, stuff like that. And then come back here and watch the video. But if not, I'll be giving spoilers, so just giving you a heads up. You get to make your own choice. You're the one that's been locked in your house for a week and a half, so I'm just trying to give you options and choices. So this is where you're going to find it says Heracles and his labors, right down there. There's one more story, but I don't think we're going to get to it. If you get really bored, you can. Theseus, Golden Fleece, really fun story also, but again, time, we're just running out of it. All right, so here's how this is going to work. Heracles. So Zeus goes out and is friendly again, and this time he's friendly with a human girl by the name of Alcmena, Alcmena, and Alcmena becomes pregnant, and Zeus does very little to try and help her or protect her or anything like that, just sort of leaves her as is. And Alcmena does not want Hera to come after she realizes that she's been with Zeus and that Zeus abandons her. Alcmena does everything she can to try and save her unborn child from being tortured by Hera. So Alcmena begins to pray to Hera nonstop. She didn't know that she was with Zeus at the time. Zeus did one of his many trickery things, and as soon as Alcmena finds out, she begins sacrificing, praying to Hera, saying, I apologize, I did not know, I would never insult you, please forgive me, and then begging the name. And she even goes so far as to say, what I will do is, when this child is born, I'm going to name my child after you as a way of saying, please forgive me. And so she says, I will name my child when he is born, Heracles, Heracles, sometimes Kles. I've seen both of them. And in Greek, Heracles means Hera, the god, Cles, meaning the joy of, meaning that she was going to name her child the joy of Hera. Regardless if it was a boy or a girl, that was the name that she was going to give it, saying, hey, don't kill my baby, and then I'll name it after you, and everything will be good. Well, baby is born, and Alcmena keeps her promise, names this baby Heracles, which, by the way, is a really weird name for a boy, if you can imagine. that essentially that your mom, if you're a guy, names you the Joy of Hera, or like if it, like nowadays, be like the Joy of Susan or something like that, and you're walking around like, my name is the Joy of Susan Jones. They're like, is your name Susan? Nope, Joy of Susan. Like, you're kind of weird, and you're like, no. So that's what happens to this poor child. Hera, by the way, does not forgive her. Kind of forgives her. Goes, all right, listen, it was not your fault that you were tricked into it, so I'm not going to punish you. But this baby, the one that my husband created, that baby's going to have to die. Doesn't tell Alcmena this, just the decision that Hera makes. She's going to forgive Alcmena, not punish her. She's going to kill the baby as a warning to others, and she's not going to have like her husband's half-children running around, so she decides to kill this baby. Baby's born. Alcmena names it. She's excited. Puts baby in a little crib. She's like, "Thank you, Hera, for like letting this baby live and not killing me. I appreciate it." Has no idea what's coming. The night the baby's born, Hera sends 2 gigantic snakes down to kill it. Should I have in here? I do not. Thought I had a picture of it. My apologies. Sends 2 gigantic snakes to come down there and kill. And these snakes slither into the bed where this 1 day old or 1 week old, depending on the story, baby Heracles is sleeping. And baby Heracles ends up being stronger and more powerful than expected. And when the snakes come in, he kills them immediately, like grabs them by their little snake heads, and they're big snakes. He's like, squishy, squishy, like those little squeezy dolls. You grab them like rocket, like little balls, and the eyeballs pop out. Does the same thing to the snakes. Squeeze, squeeze, and then once he's killed them, and then grabs like their tails and swings them around and like thunks them into things like their little teeth, thunk, and like climbs around his like little crib. He's like thunk, thunk, wee, wee, like little Tarzan. Alcmena comes in, sees this happening in the middle of the night, freaks out. She's like, "Oh my Zeus, this is crazy." Hera sees that happening. She's like, "Oh my husband, this kid's a lot stronger than I thought." So Hera decides to step back and bide her time. She's like, "I will get revenge. I will just wait until I get revenge." So she puts it off. Time goes by, and Heracles grows up to be a young man. He also inherits his father's bad temper. He's a pretty good person. Alcmena raises him well, but he does have some of Zeus's issues, and one of them being this bad temper. So one day he's a teenager and he's in school in like high schooly age, and he's taking a music class. He's supposed to be strumming this lyre, like the guitar type thing connected back to Apollo. And he's sitting there doing the whole strumming thing, but he's not good at it. And so it's so bad that the music teacher takes him out into the woods so that he does not bother the other people. And the music teacher is one of those mean kind of jerky teachers and keeps making fun of Heracles. Heracles is like, and the teacher's like, "Oh my God, how can your uncle be Apollo and your father be Zeus when you're so bad at music? You are atrocious," and just keeps like ragging on Heracles the entire time. Heracles snaps in the middle of it when the teacher's like, "I cannot believe your uncle's the god of music. He should be the god of death." Heracles takes the guitar, spins around the lyre, and whang! Hits his teacher upside the head with it, killing him instantly because Heracles still has this half Zeus superhuman strength. Teacher's head, ka-tink, he falls down dead. Heracles instantly regrets it. He's like, "Oh," because the worst thing you can ever do is kill a teacher. Bad. And that's what he does. He kills a teacher, picks up the body, and the head's like, blah, 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 and he's like, goes running back to town. Runs all the way back to town. He's like, "Hey, my teacher died." And he sets the body down. All the people come around. They're like, "Oh my God, what happened to your teacher?" He's like, "Well, I was out there doing a music lesson and I was playing and he said I was really bad." They're like, "How bad? You're so bad at music that he died from it?" He's like, "No, he made fun of me and I might have swung the musical instrument and hit him in the head." They're like, "Well, that's your problem. You're playing the musical instrument wrong." He's like, "No, it wasn't because of that. It's because I was mad." They're like, oh, you killed your teacher." And he was like, "I'm sorry." Well, the townspeople don't take it well. Apparently, killing a teacher is an unforgivable offense. So they kick Heracles out of town and say, "You have to leave." So he does. He leaves his mom behind, leaves everything behind, jets out, goes out on his own, spends the next several years all on his own off doing things. Things go well. Eventually he settles down with a girl by the name of Megara. You may recognize Megara because if you've seen the Heracles cartoon, the one from Disney, Megara is the girl with the red hair who is the one that he's chasing the entire time. That's Megara, and so she's actually a real person-ish thing that's in the story. It's just that she's different than she is in that one. And so he meets Megara, and things go well. And with him and Megara, they ended up getting married in his early 20s. They ended up having a family, having 2 small sons. He lives out in the woods with her, so he's not around other people. Does everything he can to try and contain any of the issues he might be having. Till one day, he tells his family, hey, I'm going to go out and go chop some wood for our fireplace for supper time. Like, okay. So he goes out into the wood with his big axe. And he goes out into the woods. Hang on a second. Let's do this. This is a thing that we're gonna use real quick. Time out. We're just gonna do a thing here. Pay no attention to this. This is from a thing that happened in the past. I'm just gonna babble for a second and just pull that. Oh my goodness, that really stuck it. And then, hang on. And then, aha, axe. And it takes his axe out into the woods and it says, hey, I'm gonna go chop down. This really is gonna work well for the story next slide. So there's a big old staple stuck into it. Can you see this thing? It's like a staple. It's gonna kill a child. I mean, even though I'm the only one here, but still, I think it's really in there. There, got it. Got it. Takes his axe out into the woods and goes and chops down a bunch of trees. Well, while he's out there chopping down all these trees, Hera decides this is the time that she's going to get revenge. So she turns herself invisible, sneaks up behind him, and taps him in the back of the head. Badonk. She badonks him. Badonk. Right in the back of the head. Heracles looks around like, what's that? What's going on? I don't know. And has no idea what happens, and Hera sneaks away. Sneaky, giggle, and disappears. So Heracles is like, well, that was weird. It feels like I just got badonked in the head, but I don't see anything. So takes his axe, and then takes his big pile of wood, goes back home, drops it down. Goes inside to greet his family. He's like, family, I'm home. I love all. But inside, his family's gone. And he sees a bunch of monsters running around and realizes that these monsters have attacked his house, killed his family. There's like a big monster, like these 2 little monsters, like running around with like big octopus arms and stuff like that. And Heracles freaks out. He's like, monsters, what'd you do with my family? Where's my family? And the monsters come running out. And he's like, ah! And he grabs like one of the monsters and picks it up. He's like, where's my family? And like shakes the monster around. The monster's like, and he's like, die, monster! Thwack, thwack, kills one monster, grab the next one, thwack, thwack, grabs the last monster and he shakes it around. He's like, where's my family? And all it does is like shake its arms, like, and he's like, ah! Chops off monster's head, throws it to the side, searches the house, no family, freaks out, runs down to the nearest village that he can find, runs in there and he's like, listen, I need help. And they're like, you're covered in blood. He's like, I know, I just killed 3 monsters. And he brings the villagers all get together like, let's go help this man. He's got monsters at his house. He's like, please come with me. Let's go kill these monsters. Or I killed the monsters, but find my family. And so the whole village comes back up and like, tuka, like, let's go find out what happened to this thing. And he brings it back up to his house. They find like this blood trail from wherever he was. And he was like, spread out. My family has to be here somewhere. And we're going to try and get to them. And the people are like, hey, before we go look for your family, can we look for that? Can we look at the monsters? We've never seen monsters before. And he's like, seriously? My family's missing. Like, come on, just like a little look at the monsters. He's like, fine, whatever. You can go look at the monsters. Like, sweet. And they take off to go look at the monsters. And so they do, and they take off. And so here's where they disappear, and they go into the house, like they open up the door, like let's go see some. And then the people start screaming, the ones looking in the house, like, ah! And Heracles is like, oh no, I told you, monsters. And they're like, ah! And they point at him, they're like, ah! And they yell at him, and they go, ah no, I killed him with this. This is my monster killing thing. And they're like, ah, ah, ah. And he's like, man, you guys are doing a lot of screaming for seeing dead monsters. That's kind of... And he goes over to the door and looks over their shoulders, and his family is in there, inside the house, slaughtered, chopped to pieces, killed, and stabbed. And it turns out he killed them with his own axe. And the townspeople turn against him. They're like, what is wrong with you? How could you kill your own family? And he's like, I thought they were monsters. And they're like, how can you say that about your own children? And he's like, I thought they were monsters. Turns out, when Hera bedonked him, it made him see whoever the next humans would see as monsters. She knew he lived off by himself, thus the curse was effective. He kills his own family. He has no idea why. No one else has any idea why. Only Hera does. She says, this is perfect revenge. I have now gotten rid of him. Heracles takes off, and the people once again chase him out. He is now by himself, and he feels awful because of this whole killing his family thing. Well, eventually he tracks down an oracle, which are supposed to be these magical people who could communicate with the gods in some way. And he eventually finds one, and he says, I want to talk to my father, Zeus, to find out what I can do to make things better. So he finds the oracle, and he goes and talks to him, and he says, Father, and finally gets a chance to communicate with Zeus. He says, I killed my family, chopped them to pieces with an axe because I thought they were a bunch of monsters. Zeus tells him, that's an absolutely horrible thing to do. I'm not sure what it is you want from me. And he goes, well, how can I make this up? I did a horrible thing. I want to make it better. And Zeus goes, all right, well, killing your family is a pretty bad thing. He's like, I've done a lot of bad things in my life, but I've never killed my own children with an axe. He's like, all I've done is like chucked my kid out of a window. But, everybody does that. So he goes, all right, here's what you're going to do. I want you to go talk to King Eurystheus. King Eurystheus is one of your cousins. The idea being is that King Eurystheus was this guy who hated Heracles. He was the son of one of the other Olympians. I don't remember which one off the top of my head. I apologize. But he was weak and wussy. So maybe he was the son of like Ares or the son of Hades or something like that. I don't think so. Maybe Ares. But I know that he was a wussy and he was not a good person. And he hated Heracles because Heracles was big and strong and brave and Eurystheus was not. So Zeus goes, here's what you're going to do. Talk to King Eurystheus, and King Eurystheus is going to give you 12 labors that you are going to have to do. You do those 12 labors, and then we will forgive you. If you can get 12 labors, basically a job, a mission, a quest, for those of you who play video games, 12 quests in 12 years, and then you're going to be completely forgiven, and it wipes everything out. If you don't complete one of the missions, the labors, then you're going to spend the rest of eternity down in the underworld. If you can't complete all 12 in 12 years, then you're going to be put the rest of the time in the underworld. Can you agree to this? And Heracles goes, absolutely. He's like, I deserve it. He's like, if my soul is worthy and pure, I will get it done. If not, then I deserve to spend the rest of my time being tortured and burned or whatever happens in the underworld. I absolutely agree to this. So he goes, done. And off he goes and seeks King Eurystheus. So he goes, here's me, here's King Heracles. I'm Heracles. I know it's pretty like looking at, oh, obviously you're the Heracles one, because I mean the only thing that would make sense. So this is going to be King Eurystheus on that side, so it works. We get a chance to talk back and forth. So he goes up and he confronts King Eurystheus. King Eurystheus is not happy with him. He's like, all right, this should be pretty easy. So Heracles goes, King Eurystheus, what is the first thing you want me to do? And Eurystheus goes, all right, here's what I want you to. That's my King Eurystheus voice, in case you got confused. Here's what I'm going to have you do. There is this we're going to call it a lion that's really scary, and I want you to go stab the lion and then bring back its fur, and that's all you have to do, and if you do that, we're good to go. Heracles is like, oh, you want me to go stab a lion? Duh, I can kill a lion. What King Eurystheus does not tell him, though, is that this lion was called the NEMEAN lion, and the NEMEAN lion was super powerful. It was thought to have impenetrable skin. Whatever sword you might have, now we'll make this a sword. See, nicely done. He goes, whatever sword you try to use to puncture it, its skin could not be punctured. It would just bounce off. It was like it had a built-in suit of armor, if you will. So he's like, ooh, he figured that way when Heracles went to go kill it, being all big and strong and dumb, he would try to kill the lion, and the lion would kill him. And Eurystheus is like, I'm going to kill him on the very first try. Super excited. Off Heracles goes. Goes and confronts giant lion thing. Goes up to it, and he's like, come here, lion. And he tries to stab it, but as soon as he does, he grabs it, and he's like, lion, badonk, badonk. donk, and realizes it's not going to work. So he and the lion get into this big wrestling fighty thing, and the lion keeps biting him and ripping at him, and he keeps trying to poke it and realizing that's not going to work. So he comes up with a plan. For those of you who did the pausing earlier and went and did the reading thing, go you. For others of you, here's what's going to end up happening. So he ends up strangling it, goes all WWE on it, so like an MMA fight, and tries to get it to tap out. Gets it into like a little lion sleeper hold. He's like, rawr, rawr, and the lion starts tapping out. The lion's like, meow, 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 and like tapping him. He's like, no, lion, no, and eventually keeps choking the lion until the lion dies and kills it. Once he chokes the lion and kills it, he decides he wants to use the lion's fur for a protective garment for himself. But how are you supposed to gut a lion with impenetrable fur? So here's how he solves it. He grabs the lion's paw and squeezes it. When he does, out pops the lion's claw. Wink! He then uses that claw and guts the lion with it. Turned out the only thing that could penetrate the lion's skin was its own claw. And so he uses that claw, rips it down the middle, skins it, and then takes that as his own thing. I have a picture of him wearing it. And so pretty much anytime you see a thing of Heracles, you're going to see him wearing this giant lion thing on him. Lion thing. I think that's League of Legends. Lion thing right there also. By the way, that's this guy named The Rock, who is in another Heracles movie. You have free time, you should go watch it because it is awful. But anyway, and so big lion thing. Same thing over here if we turn the video. If you can look onto it, you're going to see over there. Heracles is over there, and you'll see the fact that he's wearing the giant lion thing in that one also. So same idea. He's going to be then wearing it for the rest of time. So then Heracles, we got to change this one. Ooh, much more distracting. And so he goes back and confronts King Eurystheus. And King Eurystheus is like, oh my goodness, you killed the lion. He's like, I did, and I took its skin as my new thing. And King Eurystheus is all freaked out from this. And he goes, all right, what is the next thing you're going to send me to do? And King Eurystheus is like, all right, I have an idea. So he then says, the next thing you're going to have to go do is you're going to kill this thing called a HYDRA. And a HYDRA was this multi-headed snake, lizard, monster, beast thing. And he said, it lived in the water. It's like a snake, water, monster, beast thing. And he said, I want you to go kill this giant water snake, monster beast thing, and you bring back its head as proof of it, that you killed it. He's like, all right, I can definitely do that. Not a problem at all. Wearing my gangster hat. We're going to wear it to one side. Definitely wearing it like that because that's the way the cool kids are doing it. There we go. What? All right. So he says, go and kill this thing. And Heracles is like, done. I'm off. Let's see. Here is my monster head thing. And so he goes off to go attack the HYDRA. Turns out the HYDRA, there's a bit more to it. With the HYDRA, every time, again, sword, you cut off one of its heads. So if you cut off one of the HYDRA heads, two would come back. And so it would keep multiplying heads. That was like the magic thing it had. You cut off one head, doink, and then all of a sudden, doink, two heads would pop out. Plus, on top of that, its blood was thought to be acidic poison. If its blood touched you, you would then like burn and die. It was like one of the worst possible deaths you could have. And then on top of that, one of the heads was immortal and could not die. And so that was what he had to deal with. So Heracles actually ends up hiring a friend of his. Some say it was a cousin, some say it was a nephew, some say it was a friend, but hiring this person to come out with him. And he says what this person is going to end up doing is while we're out there, I'm going to go ahead and create it for you right here. He says, every time I cut off one of the heads, you're going to come running up there with a torch. This is my torch. Use your imagination. You're going to use the torch, and then you're going to burn the head or the neck closed. So he chops off the head, chop, and then before the two heads pop out, you're going to go, psst, and you burn it with this torch. And it becomes like this whole teamwork thing, and they high-five each other, and it goes well. He goes through, cuts off all the heads until he gets to the immortal head, and he picks it up, and it's like, snap, 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 snap. I think I have more pictures. There you go. Snap, snap. And takes the immortal head and just literally puts it under a giant boulder. Picks up the boulder like kids cleaning their room. Picks up boulder, puts head underneath, puts boulder back down, and is like, well, let's just not look underneath there. And leaves it. Crazy. Then he takes his arrows out and dips them in the blood of the Hydra. Dippy dip, dippy dip, so that each of his arrows has like a special thing to it that allows him to, like, as soon as you get shot the arrow, it basically kills you. Makes a whole bunch of poisonous arrows. All right, I'm reaching 25 minutes. I think I have like 10 minutes left, plus it's our last story. So, I mean, if you want to stop to now, that's fine, because tomorrow's not really going to be a video. It's just going to be you guys doing a thing. So if you want to stop now and save the last little bit for tomorrow, that's fine. The rest of you can keep on watching, because I'm just going to go ahead and finish it out so we can get to the end and see what happens. So, all right, so then goes back to talk to King Eurystheus again. So I have the Hydra, and then there's him fighting the Hydra, him fighting the Hydra again. Here's another a lot of pictures of him fighting the Hydra. It's one of his most popular things he did. All right. Then, after he goes back and confronts it and talks to King Eurystheus, Eurystheus comes up with other things for him to do, but realizing that apparently making him kill monsters is not good enough, because apparently he is so big and strong and powerful, whatever monster he comes up with, Heracles can kill it. So he starts getting more creative. So we'll jump to the fifth one. For the fifth one, here's the idea he comes up with. King Eurystheus had a king friend who had this barn full of 1,000 horses. And the 1,000 horses, they had not cleaned out the barn in decades. Some say years, some say 100 years, however you want to look at it. A horse barn full of 100+ horses had never been cleaned, so it was supposed to have horse poop up to your waist. And he goes, here's the job that I'm going to give you for labor number 5. You have to clean out this entire horse barn in one day. You have from sun up to sundown to clean the whole thing. If not, you fail. And he figured this way, it does not matter how strong Heracles is, there was no way for him to win this one. Eurystheus figures he's finally beaten him. So instead, Heracles proves that he was smart. So he didn't have to be strong to solve this problem. Well, kind of a little bit strong, but mostly intelligent. He goes and realizes, as he examines the situation, there are 2 nearby rivers that are going by this horse farm. It's sort of like in the middle of this big valley, 2 rivers going by. So Heracles goes and grabs rocks, throws them into the rivers, giant boulders, redirects them so the rivers end up flowing through the horse barn. And these giant rivers go through there, and the water washes out all of the horse poop in a single day. He then goes back, pulls the rocks out, rivers go back, and he managed to do it in a single afternoon, did not even have to use the entire day. So that's what he manages to do through all of these different things, and it's amazing. Eventually, he's going to end up getting freed. All of the labors on there, I'm going to let you guys read. I'm not going to spend all my time going through all of those. Like when you get to number 11, it deals with Atlas again. And he had to go and get a thing from Atlas, and he ended up having to... Heracles had to take over Atlas's job and lift the sky on his back and hold it there, but Heracles manages to trick Atlas into lifting it up again, because Atlas was going to leave him there and take off. So again, it shows how witty he is. For his 12th labor, he had to go to the underworld and pick up Cerberus. Remember the 3-headed dog, woof woof? He had to pick up Cerberus and bring it back to King Eurystheus without letting it touch the earth. And so he had like all these different things he did, but eventually he got finished with all of them. And things went well, and eventually, after he got done, he decided to get married again. He was forgiven, slate was wiped clean, everything is happy. He goes back to his world because he got things done the 12 years. And now he gets married, and things are going pretty well with this whole new marriage thing. But real quick, I have to introduce centaurs, because they're going to play a role in the next part of his story. A centaur is a half man, half horse. It's where you have the top half of a man and then the bottom half of a horse. Again, they pop up like in Harry Potter. They're in that one. You're going to see them again in the Lightning Thief, Percy Jackson. I think they're also in like the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe movie. So like they're in all of these different ones. In Greek mythology, they were kind of wild and crazy and had issues and were kind of a little bit on the psychotic side. And so that's going to play a role in all this. So Heracles, he goes out on his honeymoon at this point. And so as he goes on his honeymoon, he and the new Mrs. Heracles, and honestly, I don't remember her name. I just remember that I remember the first girl was Megara, but the second girl, we're going to call her like Jan, or something like that. So Heracles and Jan are going along their whole honeymoon thing, and they come across this river. And it was a really deep river, and they could not get to where their honeymoon was supposed to be as they were going through the woods. And Heracles and Jan are trying to figure out, how are we going to get across this? And Heracles is like, I could get across. As I'm like, superhuman. And he's like, I could pick you up and throw you across. He's like, no, you are not throwing me across that river. And so while they're arguing, trying to figure this out, this random centaur shows up. And he's like, hey, are you guys needing help? And they go, yeah, we do. And he goes, well, I'm more than happy to try and help. How about you come and jump on my back, and I will swim across it, because of being a centaur, half horse, I'm a really good swimmer, and I will take you across, and we could do something like that. And they're like, oh, well, that's awful nice of you. Absolutely. And so she goes and jumps on the back of the centaur. The centaur takes her across, and Heracles is like, hey, drop her off on the far side. I'm going to swim across. It'll take me a minute. Well, Heracles waits to make sure that she gets safely to the other side. And when she does, the centaur decides that he really likes Jan, that Mrs. Heracles is a hottie. So he decides to hottie nap her. And so he grabs onto her and then just takes off running while she begins to scream. She's like, oh no, I'm being kidnapped by a centaur, I'm being hottie napped. And she's like pounding him on the back. And then Heracles sees this happening and decides, no, you are not stealing my woman, she is mine. So he decides to stop it. But how do you stop something like a centaur stealing your woman when you're on one side of the river and it's on the other? So he shoots it and fires an arrow at the fleeing centaur stealing his woman. I know, your thought, like if you guys were here at the moment, you'd be like, oh no, he's going to shoot his wife. And he fires and does not hit his wife, ends up hitting the centaur. Centaur drops down, blah, and falls down to the ground bleeding. And when that happens, Jan goes over and starts kicking him. He's like, stupid centaur, how dare you try to kidnap me? While Heracles is busy swimming over. Centaur apologizes as he's sitting there bleeding out. The arrow shot through him, realizes he's not going to make it, so he apologizes to her, says, hey, I'm sorry, it was awful of me, probably should not have shot you, probably should not have tried to kidnap you, but allow me to make it up to you. She's like, you're dying, how are you going to make it up to me? He goes, well, how about this? It's a little known fact, centaur blood is an aphrodisiac. Aphrodisiac is a word that is created from Spinny, this god, Aphrodite. An aphrodisiac was thought to be a thing that would make people fall in love with you. He says, here's how centaur blood, well, no, I dropped off the thing, hang on a second, it got real awkward. No, I want you to be able to hear me. We're getting closer. It's probably making all kinds of weird sounds. There we go. It was an aphrodisiac. If you were to take my blood and put it onto clothing that your husband would wear, then it would make him fall in love with whoever the name or person he thinks of while wearing it. So if you were to ever not, trust your husband or think he might be cheating on you or being friendly somewhere, you're going to coat his clothing with my blood and then make sure that as soon as he touches it, he thinks of you, and then as soon as that happens, he'll fall madly and deeply in love with you. That way I get to apologize. And she's like, oh, well, that is sweet of you. Okay. So she pulls out like this wine bottle she has, and she dumps out the wine, and then she takes some of his blood. He's like, spurt, spurt. And he's like, make sure you don't touch it, because if it touches you, it's going to ruin it, because then you're going to fall in love with me, because I'll be the person that you're looking at. He's like, so make sure it does not contact your skin. He's like, very specific. She's like, okay. So she takes her wine bottle, and she like sticks it on his, wherever he got shot. She like pulls out there, it's like, blah, 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 and fills up the wine bottle, corks it back up, and she's like, thank you. And he's like, it's the least I can, and he dies. She does not tell Heracles about this, puts the wine bottle away. He shows up and he's like, stupid dead horseman, and then kicks him, and they hug each other and off they go. Plays no role in things for a long time. So, years go by, and then she begins to suspect at some point that Heracles is cheating on her. We're getting close to being done. You can probably tell from the time that's down over there. And so she says, suspects that Heracles is cheating on her. So, he's away from her at the time. He is off fighting a battle, and she's back at home, and she begins hearing these rumors that Heracles has fallen in love with this other princess, might be leaving her for this other princess, and so she gets really worried about it. So she decides to solve this problem. Gets this cape out and pours the centaur blood that she's been saving for years all over the cape and makes sure it's like fully coated, lets it dry into it, and then she folds up the cape, writes him a note, "Hey hun, please put this on and immediately think of me. That way I love you so much. Hugs and kisses, your wife." And then sends it by courier off to him. And then eventually he gets it. Heracles finds this package, opens it up, sees this big capey thing, and it says, "Please wear this close to your body so it touches your skin and you think of me." And turns out he was not cheating on her. It was all just rumors because people are awful. He loved his wife very much. So he's super excited when he gets this because he'd been missing her. And he's like, "This is the best thing ever. I love my wife. She's so awesome." Immediately puts the cape on and wears it and like snuggles down and everything is good. But then as soon as he does, his skin catches on fire. Not actual flames, but feels like it's on fire. And he immediately throws it off and can't stop screaming. It feels like his skin is burning. It is the worst sensation he's ever felt. Turns out the centaur lied. Because if you remember the beginning of the story, what did Zeus dip his arrows in back in the second labor? That's right, the HYDRA blood. And the centaur recognized that when he got shot, that his blood was poisoned. So that's why he got his revenge. So when she put the blood on there, she was actually putting the HYDRA poison on him. And the HYDRA poison was so powerful that it began to make him feel like he was going to die. A normal human would have immediately died from having this stuff touch his skin. But Heracles was no normal human. So instead it just made him feel like he was dying. And he felt absolutely awful. And he couldn't stop it. It was this non-stop burning, melting of his skin, and it was like that he couldn't get rid of it. So eventually, after trying to live with it for days, he decides the only way to make it stop is death. So he decides to kill himself. But being Heracles, he cannot die the normal way because he's too strong. So he has to do multiple things at once. With the HYDRA blood burning into his skin, he jumps into the middle of a giant fire. And while he's in the middle of the fire burning to death, he has all of his friends take out bows and arrows and shoot him at the same time. So while he's being shot, while he's being poisoned, while he's being burned, it's finally enough to finally kill him, and Heracles dies thinking of his wife. His wife ends up dying also because she finds out about it and she feels so bad that she commits suicide. Hera ends up finding about this once he goes down to the underworld, and she ends up feeling so bad about all of this and the fact that Heracles was technically innocent and she tormented him and she led to all of these bad things happening to him, that Hera ends up forgiving him once he has died. She invites him up to Mount Olympus and says, "Even though I cannot give you a throne, I can give you the next best thing." And she gives him her daughter's hand in marriage, and Heracles gets married a third time. And this time he gets married to Hebe. Hebe being one of Zeus's and Hera's daughters. Hebe and Alithea. Hebe was the one that became the waitress. And so Hebe gets to marry Heracles. And so Hebe and Heracles get married. I know, your thought would be, what about his first wife that he killed down in the underworld? She stays down there. What about his second wife who got him killed and went down to the underworld when she died? She stays down there. Heracles now gets to marry Hebe, and he gets rid of his two ex-wives who he loved, but I don't know, Greek mythology. And so then he gets to live forever up on Mount Olympus and be up there with all the other gods, not as an actual god, but hanging out with them and married to Hebe. And that's the end of Heracles. I know, it's a long video. I apologize. Hopefully some of you guys paused it and went over and watched it the next day, or this is Thursday or something like that. But it was my last day telling a story to you, and I wanted it to count, so I figured make the best of it that you can. That's our Heracles story. There's more to it. I could spend another 45 minutes telling you about Heracles. I mean, it's in the story when you go through there and you find there's a man eating horses that he has to go kill. He has to free. Prometheus shows up, and Prometheus gets freed in his story. There's birds, man eating birds he has to go fight off. He has to track a deer that belongs to Artemis, and he has to track a deer for an entire year. There's a man eating bull that he has to, so many things. So if you're bored, go watch like a Heracles movie on Netflix. There's probably like 12 of them, or like read the story or something like that. But anyway, that's all I have. Heracles on the website if you want to do that. We're now officially done with Greek mythology. For all I know, maybe I'm not going to give you something tomorrow. Maybe I'll just give you a small something and just make like the second half of this video, because technically it's like 2 days worth. And because normally I do spread this over 2 days, I just packed it into one. But hopefully you guys enjoyed my antics, because I found my light up Hattie thing as I was trying to, ooh, that looks really trippy on there. Ooh, even more trippy. Oh, not as trippy. Not trippy at all. And so I found the hat I was trying to wear. So anyway, I've been trying to entertain you guys. I know it's been all kinds of chaotic and crazy and stuff like that. So anyway, I miss you guys. I'm kind of going insane, but hopefully we get to see each other in a couple weeks and the world's in a better place. Thump, thump. Bye.